have said it." Then the leading priests kept accusing him of many crimes, and Pilate asked him, "Aren't you going to answer them? What about all these charges they are bringing against you?" But Jesus said nothing, much to Pilate's surprise. Now it was the governor's custom each year during Passover celebration to release one prisoner, anyone the people requested. One of the prisoners at the time was Barabbas, a revolutionary who had committed murder in an uprising. The crowd went to Pilate and asked him to release a prisoner as usual. "Would you like me to release to you the King of the Jews?" Pilate asked, for he realized by now that the leading priests had arrested Jesus out of envy. But at this point, the leading priests stirred up the crowd to demand the release of Barabbas instead of Jesus. Pilate asked them, "Then what should I do with this man you call King of the Jews?" They shouted back, "Crucify him." "Why?" Pilate demanded. "What crime has he committed?" But the mob roared even louder, "Crucify him." So to pacify the crowd, Pilate released Barabbas to them. He ordered Jesus flogged with a lead-tipped whip, then turned him over to the Roman soldiers to be crucified. The soldiers took Jesus into the courtyard of the governor's headquarters, called the Praetorium, and called out the entire regiment. They dressed him in a purple robe, and they wove thorn branches into a crown and put it on his head. Then they saluted him and taunted him, "Hail the King of the Jews!" And they stuck him in the head with a reed stick, spit on him, and dropped to their knees in mock worship. When they were finally tired of mocking him, they took off the purple robe and put his own clothes on him again. Then they led him away to be crucified. A passerby named Simon, who was from Cyrene, was coming in from the countryside just then, and the soldiers forced him to carry Jesus' cross. Simon was the father of Alexander and Rufus, and they brought Jesus to a place called Golgotha, which means place of the skull. They offered him wine, drugged with myrrh, but he refused it. Then the soldiers nailed him to the cross. They divided his clothes and threw dice to decide who would get each piece. It was 9:00 in the morning when they crucified him. A sign announced the charge against him. It read, "The King of the Jews." 2 revolutionaries were crucified with him, one on his right and one on his left. The people passing by shouted abuse, shaking their heads in mockery. "Look at you now," they yelled at him. "You said it, in 3 days. Well, then save yourself and come down from the cross." The leading priests and the teachers of religious law also mocked Jesus. "He saved others," they scoffed, "but he can't save himself? Let this Messiah, the King of Israel, come down from the cross so we can see it and believe him." Even the men who were crucified with Jesus ridiculed him. At noon, darkness fell across the whole land until 3:00. Then at 3:00, Jesus called out with a loud voice, "Eloi, Eloi, lema sabachthani," which means, my God, why have you abandoned me?" Some of the bystanders misunderstood and thought he was calling for the prophet Elijah. One of them ran and filled a sponge with sour wine, holding it up to him on a reed stick so he could drink. "Wait," he said, "let's see whether Elijah comes to take him down." Then Jesus uttered another loud cry and breathed his last breath. And the curtain in the sanctuary of the temple was torn in two from the top to bottom. When the Roman officer who stood facing him saw how he had died, he exclaimed, "This man truly was the Son of God." Some women there were watching from a distance, including Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James the Younger and of Joseph, and Salome. They had been followers of Jesus and had cared for him while he was in Galilee. Many other women who had come with him to Jerusalem were also there. This all happened on Friday, the day of preparation, the day before the Sabbath. As evening approached, Joseph of Arimathea took a risk and went to Pilate and asked for Jesus' body. Joseph was an honored member of the High Council, and he was waiting for the kingdom of God to come. Pilate couldn't believe that Jesus was already dead, so he called for the Roman officer and asked if he had died yet. The Roman officer confirmed that Jesus was dead, so Pilate told Joseph he could have the body. Joseph brought a long sheet of linen cloth. Then he took Jesus' body from the cross, wrapped it in the cloth, and laid it in the tomb that had been carved out of rock. Then he rolled a stone in front of the entrance. Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Joseph, saw where Jesus' body was laid. That is the end of chapter 15. There is only one more chapter left in Mark. It's only a couple verses, but we are going to wait for tomorrow because this is heavy. We just read about Jesus' death. And as we talked about yesterday, they had the opportunity to let Jesus go. So Pilate realized very quickly, Pilate was like the guy in charge. He realized almost immediately when they brought Jesus in front of him that these people are trying to crucify him out of envy and hate and jealousy and like status quo, almost like they want to keep their robes and they want to keep all this religious like stuff they had going on before Jesus came. They don't want to change. They're stuck in their ways. And so they'd rather just Jesus die and go away so that they can continue on with all the rules they made and all the hoo-hoos and ha-has and laughter and whatever it is that they do, like on a daily basis, like exchanging camaraderie, all that stuff. Like they just don't want Jesus in the mix because Jesus doesn't have to conform to law. Jesus is the law. And when Jesus is around, that challenges their law and challenges the people following them. And so Pilate's like, hold up. Okay, let's check this out. We can release someone. You guys brought him. You want to crucify him. Let's do the right thing. He's innocent. Okay, he called himself King of the Jews, so you say, which is against the law. So I'll give him some lashings and then we'll let him go. He can be flogged and we can let this guy go. He is God. And I don't want to mess with God. And they're like, no. And it's funny because yesterday when they went to arrest Jesus, they tried to, what's it called? The word when you sneak up on someone. I don't know the word. But they tried to like come up to Jesus when maybe he wouldn't be paying attention, but they forget that Jesus knows all things. And so it's dark out. I believe it's dark out because it was nighttime. Jesus was praying. They've already had supper. They already had the last dinner. And so it's dark out. And these people come with what did they come with? Oh my goodness. With swords and clubs. And they're coming aggressively at Jesus. And Jesus is like, hold up. And am I some dangerous revolutionary that you come at me with swords and clubs? Why didn't you arrest me when I was sitting down preaching peacefully in the daylight in front of the masses? No, instead you want to come in the middle of the night with swords and clubs and try to catch me when I'm sleeping. God never sleeps. So, but this is when you're going to try to come at me. Am I a dangerous revolutionary? You guys know I'm not a dangerous revolutionary. One of his disciples went to cut the ear off of someone who was arresting Jesus, and Jesus right there on the spot healed the guy's ear. That should have stopped them in their tracks to be like, hold up, we're arresting him and he's healing us? No, they continue on. They bring him in front of Pilate. Pilate's like, this guy is innocent, let's let him go. And instead of letting him go, they're like, crucify him, crucify him, crucify him. And Pilate is like, you guys forget we have a real dangerous revolutionary, there's that word again, revolutionary, in our custody right now. He's a murderer. And you want to let this murderer walk amongst your children? You want to let this revolutionary walk amongst your children? And you, who knows who he's going to murder the minute we let him out? We know Jesus is going to heal people if we let him go. And we know this guy's going to probably murder people again. And what do they choose? They choose to go ahead and let Barabbas go. And they crucify the healer of this world, which is insane. The other thing that just clicked to me when we were reading through chapter 15 just now is that at the dinner, Jesus, earlier on at the dinner, Jesus is like, this is the last time I'll drink wine until, what did he say? I am paraphrasing right now, but he's basically like, this is the last time I'm going to drink wine until we all rise again. And while Jesus is being crucified, they try to offer him wine. And the wine is laced or spiked, whatever you want to call it, and Jesus denies it. And then right before he dies, they try to offer him wine again. And you know what Jesus does? He lets his spirit go to God. And so, again, he's all-knowing. Like, these people are just, like, how much proof do you need? How much proof do you need? And it's really messed up. But it should just make you say, wow, like, this guy had the power to just say, you know what, all of you die right now on the spot. And instead, he was like, I'm going to let my life go. I'm going to lay my life down to save the lives of the people who trust in me. It's worth it. I am a friend to, I am your best friend. I am a friend to you. I am the best father you're ever going to have, the best friend you're ever going to have, the best helper, guider, mentor, anything you will ever have. So instead of just killing everyone off, let me lay my life down for you. Let me go ahead and let these people put a nail in my hands, put a nail in my feet. I've had a nail go through my foot. Not all the way through, but almost all the way through. When I was like 10 years old, I was at a water park. One of those giant nails that hold the slides of the water park fell out. And I don't know why it was me, but all of these kids were running up the stairs. There were hundreds of kids there. I think hundreds of kids. But the line was long. There were a bunch of people, kids, parents, adults, everyone going up these stairs before me. And why did it have to be me that went the same path that everyone else went? And it was immediate pain. And then there was just blood just gushing out. And you're looking down because I'm like in shock, because I just saw everyone else go up these stairs and now there's blood pouring out of my foot. And I can't stand on my foot. So like I'm in pain. I'm looking for my cousins because it was a summer school field trip. So my cousins were with me. My parents weren't with me. I couldn't find anyone. So I'm sitting there crying and waiting and seeing blood and trying to find my cousins and crippled. And that was just one of my feet. I cannot imagine and that was painful. Imagine the pain of having a nail go through all of your feet, all of your hands, your side being pierced and blood, watching your blood pour out onto the floor and being like, you know what? My blood is going to wash their sins. You know what? This is for them. You know what? I'm not even going to scream at them. You know what? I'm not going to drink the wine. I know the wine will make the pain go away, but I said I will not drink wine again. Bro, that's crazy. That is crazy love right there. Crazy love. Some of you think you're crazy in love. Jesus is crazy in love with you. And the fact that he sat there and let people do what they did to him